Good evening, fuckers. And tonight we're going to talk about Jackie Kennedy. So, Jackie Kennedy was born on July 28th, 1929 to a stockbroker, a Wall Street stockbroker. Is there more than one stock? No, there's not more than one stock market. Her mother was a socialite, so she was bougie. And she grew up doing bougie things like riding horses. She graduated from George Washington University with a degree in French literature, and her maiden name was Bouvier, so she was French. That makes sense, right? A year after she graduated college, she met this guy named John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Maybe you've heard of him. He was by JFK. He was recently elected to Senate in 1952, and they met at a dinner party, and they were like, let's get married. And Jackie was like, okay. They got married. She wanted to be involved with like the campaign. She's like, come on, like, let's do some campaign stuff. But then like she was at a high-risk pregnancy, and so she couldn't. So she came up with something called the Campaign Wife, which was a weekly column where she talked to the public about campaign things because she couldn't go to dinners and stuff. She becomes the first lady, and everybody loves her. Like, she's kind of weird looking, but like nobody questions it. Because I feel like all women prior to 1980 were weird looking, but excuse me, but I feel like that just might be biology, because if you think about it, like how many, it's not important. Come on, the cats are everywhere. So they get married. There's a lot of, stuff about his multiple affairs, and she's like, doesn't matter, because I'm still gonna be the first lady. And there's a cat. Come here, Fred. Nope, okay. They get married, they have 4 kids total, but only 2 of them make it past infancy, and that would be Caroline and John Jr. Patrick did not make it, as well as their daughter Arabella, who is unmarked at the gravesite in Arlington National Cemetery. You guys think that Jackie Kennedy had weird nipples? I'm just putting that one out there. They continued on to do stuff like be the president until November 22nd, 1963, and Kennedy's shot. There's a conspiracy theory to where Jackie did it, and like, that would be really cool, but I don't think that's what happened. So Kennedy gets shot, and Jackie's like picking up his brains and like putting them in her pocket. And people say that it's the pink Chanel suit, but it's not Chanel. Americans were like, why does Jackie hate Americans? But she didn't, so to prove it, she wore New York boutique designer, what do you call it? Not a dress. It's not pants. A suit. She wore a pink suit, but it wasn't Chanel. So they're riding in Dallas, and like the weather's really nice because you're in fucking Dallas, so you're gonna ride with the top down. If you did that shit in Chicago though, you'd be so cold. If JFK did the parade in Dallas, but in Chicago, he would still be alive. I don't know if he would still be alive, but he wouldn't have been assassinated. He gets assassinated, and she's picking up his brains, and like there's blood all over her, okay? And she's like, oh god, like what has happened? It's not funny, but if you've ever seen the video of her grabbing brains, like it's hard. Like if my husband were to get assassinated and like grab somebody's brains, no, that's not what I meant. If my husband were to get assassinated, I don't think I would grab his brains. But she was wearing gloves, so maybe that had something to do with it. I spilled. Alright, so Kennedy's shot. She has pictures taken of her covered in her own blood. Not her own blood, she didn't get shot. In JFK's blood, saying, America needs to see what this man did to our family. Oh, and there it goes. It's done. Tapped out. So she's covered in blood, and like you see the picture of them swearing on the Bible, LBJ in office. On Air Force One, and LBJ is now president. She officially says, like, that's it, I'm done with America, you guys have sucked. She talks to her long-term friend, Onassis. He takes her to Greece on their private island, and they get married on a private island. I almost peed. So they get married on a private island. She said, along the lines of these quotes, like, look at what they've done to the Kennedys. I don't want to be in this country anymore. Hold on, let me read the actual quote. Because It's way more noble than I'll put it. If they're killing Kennedys, then my children are targets. I want to get out of this country. So that's what she does. She and Onassis, like, there's so many rumors of, like, her getting cheated on with, well, I don't know if Marilyn Monroe was necessarily a rumor as it was fact, but Onassis fucked around. And, like, at that point, I don't think she cared. She didn't care about companionship. I think she cared about security for her family, and that's what was important. I didn't know this, but if you look it up, like, if you die, if your husband dies, and you remarry, you swear off your rights to say that you were ever a first lady or a widow to the President of the United States, which is fucked up. Like, Jackie Kennedy will ever be known as JFK's widow, but she can't legally say it. One, because she's dead, and two, because it's against the law, you can't do it. So she gets married to Onassis, and they live a happy life until he dies. She, like, comes back from Greece to the United States. She's like, hey, like, guys, like, we're cool now. I have a private island in Greece, so, like, I don't really care about your opinions. She continues on to be a book editor for the remainder of her life. And whilst riding a horse, she gets a swollen lymph node in her groin area, and she died from paper bag rustling. That's a lie. She died from lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. As her time as First Lady, she invested $50,000 into the White House, and she, like, preserved all of these artifacts and made, like, the White House into a museum, which is, like, really bitchin'. Did you know that they had a bowling alley in there? You can go bowling in the White House, which is fucking awesome. Who wants to go after this? I do. So she was a fashion icon. She got to live out her days doing what she loved, like editing books and taking pictures of shit. Oh, I forgot to tell this. Back in the day when she was a teenager, she applied to a job at Vogue, an internship. She got it. Like, out of 1,600 people, she got it. Which is no surprise. She was like a rich white lady from New York. Southampton to be exact. And she went there in New York on her first day and quit on the spot. If that isn't the biggest fuck you to society, I don't know what is. Like, she just lived a life, you know? She, like, said, I don't care if you're cheating on me. I don't care where you put your dick before it. Like, I just care that I get my job done at the end of the day, which is all I want in life. Like, if I can live my life not worrying about where my husband's dick has been, just, like, worrying about yourself, like, that's a really good life to lead, you know? She struggled with depression, which, like, if you lost 2 kids at infancy, I feel like that's pretty understandable. And then, like, you lose your husband, and then your second husband. But, like, you still have a private island, which raises this big question. Does money truly buy happiness? Stick around, we'll find out. I think the true lesson that we can all learn from this is never ride with the top down, because your hair is either gonna get messed up, or your husband's gonna get shot. I feel like a super villain. $1 billion. Love me. I'm just so alone. Thank you for learning a little about our First Lady, Jackie Kennedy. I've been Alana Courtney, and you've been watching. I think we're done.